Hello everyone, my name is Dustin Meyer, and today I'd like to talk about something a little bit more personal than camera equipment or the latest software that's coming out. I want to talk about you, and I want to talk about me. Lately, some of you have contacted me with questions, and I also get a lot of this when I teach workshops too from photographers that are considering taking the leap from going from a full-time employee to a full-time photographer. And I always see the same thing every time. I see that look of worry, that look of doubt, and that look of frustration. And I know those looks really well because I still see it in the mirror every day when I get ready to go to work. Something that I think a lot of us struggle with is doubting ourselves. And one of the biggest things I think that still bothers us today is we just don't think that we're good enough. I think it's wonderful to be able to go around and look at other photographers' websites and get inspiration from their photos and see if that's something that we want to adapt to our own style. But it is so easy to fall into that trap of thinking, oh my gosh, that person is so much better than me. My pictures will never look that good. And I want to tell you that that's not true, because I've been there. In fact, it still happens to me today. I'll see another photographer whose site has very soft, kind of a film quality photo, whereas I look at my stuff, which is typically a little bit more contrasty and composition oriented, and I see such a huge difference that my lack of confidence goes down and that doubt starts to creep in. And unfortunately, that doubt starts to spread through the rest of our being, through our businesses, through our personalities. And there are days where I come into the studio and I feel just so caged up and locked up inside of me because there's just so much to do. And I think that all of that just compounds on top of one thing to another, resulting in complete, frozen mentality, whatever you want to call it. Just to the point where you just feel like nothing you're going to get done today is going to make a difference. And many times people have had to re-encourage me, kind of bring me out of my hole and say, you know what, your pictures look great, they're different from anybody else's, and that's what makes you you. And I think that that's something really important to relay to all of you guys. The fact that you're never going to have pictures that look exactly like someone else's. It's okay to get inspiration from other people, because I understand that sometimes we kind of fall into like an autopilot when we're taking pictures, where we just feel like we're just doing the same thing over and over again. So it's wonderful to be able to go and look at other photographers' photos and get inspiration. I mean, whether you're a photographer or a painter or a graphic designer or game designer or what have you. But just be cautious that you put more energy, take it away from that stress and put it into your creative self, and put that energy into encouraging yourself, building your self-esteem, reminding yourself that you've made it this far, or even if you're just starting out, that you have the passion there, that you'll be able to make that leap when you're ready. A while back, I was at a point in my life where I had been in business for a while, and it had just kind of gotten to the point, maybe in about 6 months to a year since then, that I was able to go full-time. And it was the scariest thing in the world for me. We had a child shortly after I graduated from college. I had a degree in photography, and with no plan, no idea how to make that work, how to support this new family. We were just kind of thrown into the situation. It was scary. And even today, I think it's still scary. I look back and wonder, how did I even do it? Why do I still feel like I don't even know what I'm doing? But I'll tell you something, guys. I personally believe that the thing that really keeps me going every day is I do my best to just push aside all of those outside forces that just keep creeping in, that just want to jump into your backpack of stones and just weigh you down day after day, minute by minute. And just ignore those things and focus on what got you here in the first place. What made you want to go into this field in the first place? Whether you understood that you were going to be a business owner, or whether you just wanted to get into this business because you love photography, and then later you realized that there was a whole lot more to it if you wanted to make a living doing it. But if you can push aside all of those outside forces and just think about the first time you picked up a camera, took a picture, and fell in love with it. Remind yourself of that every time you pick up your camera, whether you're going on location for a photo shoot, or you're about to do a portrait session, or headshots, or even a commercial photo shoot. Relive that moment where every single time you push that button, you can't wait to see how that picture turns out. Don't let that doubt creep in while you're taking pictures, especially while you're taking pictures, because then all of that creativity starts to evaporate. Your creativity is such a beautiful part of who you are, but at the same time, it's very fragile, and you have to take care of it. Whether it's taking a break and going for a walk outside, or even watching the TV, or spending time with your spouse, your kids, your friends, your family. Get yourself away from the computer. Get yourself away from behind the camera. Go outside, step away, and enjoy the things that are the entire reason why you wanted to do this in the first place. Every day when I close up the studio, or I'm driving home from shooting a wedding or some kind of event, I try to push everything out of my mind that jumped into my backpack while I was working, or things that I've been carrying around on my back all day. I try to put that bag down, let all of that go, and just look at my kids, see what they're up to. I go talk to them. I sit down in the kitchen while my wife makes dinner and listen to her talk about her day. All of these things help me realize that my life isn't the only life that is going on right now, that there are other people that are very dear to me, that I love with all of my heart, who have their own lives, who have their own stresses, who have their own celebrations. And if I truly love them, then I'm going to listen to them. I'm going to get involved with them. I'm going to show them that I love them just by being there. And by doing this, I'm actually recharging my emotional batteries, my creative batteries. So that way, when I go into the studio the next day, or I leave home on a Saturday away from my family and kids to go shoot a wedding, that creative battery is full. I've learned so many times that I can't run on empty. I can't run with drained batteries. I'm physically exhausted. I creatively freeze up and have no idea what I'm going to do, and that doubt starts to creep in. I look at other photographers' sites to try and get inspiration, and then I slide down into that hole where I start thinking that I'm just not good enough. Speaking of which, when it comes to your style, how you want to shoot, how you want your pictures to look, whether again you're a beginner or you're a seasoned pro, we all occasionally get to that point where we want to make our pictures better. But the wrong thing to do that I've found for me is that I try to copy somebody else's work. I'm never going to be able to make the exact same picture as somebody else. They had different lighting. They shot it on a different time of day. They had different people. They were in a different location, different camera, different lenses, different attitude while they were shooting. I'll never be able to replicate that moment. And you know what? No one will ever be able to replicate what you do either. A lot of times when I teach my workshops, I tell people who come up to me, they ask me, what am I supposed to do? How do I do better lighting? What camera settings should I do? What places should I go shoot at? How do I talk to my clients? How do I get into that zone? Unfortunately, a lot of these questions are more technical than they are personal. And I know that it is important to understand your gear. In fact, I encourage people to know your gear inside and out so that it becomes an extension of who you are, not a restraint. I tell people to get their head out of the camera and into the situation, to see what's going on in front of them, to capture that moment, whether it's a business headshot or it's a couple in love celebrating their upcoming wedding. Our job is to be there, to feel what they're feeling and translate that into an image. But people always wonder and they worry that their pictures aren't good enough. And I don't like to think of it whether your pictures are good or bad. I like to think of it like we're on a scale, or we're in the progress of improving and refining our images to a point where we feel like they're the best that they can be. And we always start at the beginning of that progress. And over the years, we start to get closer and closer, chipping away all the accessory stuff that we don't need, to the point where what we produce for people is exactly what we saw in our mind when we wanted to make that picture. I tell people a lot that your style and the way you show your pictures, the way you display them, whether it's, the theme of your website, or whether you like to use music with slideshows, or if you like to do a lot of black and white, whatever it may be, that your preferred style is an extension of who you are. And if you can think of it like dating, I know it's a crazy example, but if you think of it like dating, we always hear that the best rule is to just be yourself. Don't put on a front. Because if that other person becomes interested and you start to spend more time together, eventually they're going to find out that the person that they became interested in the first place is not the person that's in front of them right now. You can't hold up a facade forever. So the best thing to do really is to just let your personality show when you talk to them, when you email them, when you meet them in person. To let it show through your creativity. Your style will subconsciously manifest itself based on your personality. For example, I grew up in the music industry. I was a choir boy. I was an opera singer for a long time. I grew up on the stage. And everything on the stage is placed exactly where it's supposed to be for the best perspective for the audience. So my thing that I always go to first is composition. And that's influenced the style of my photos. So rather than me going to that other photographer's website who has the beautiful photos with the very light and airy images, film quality, I don't know how that photographer got there. I don't know what experience they've had that led them to that point. And they're also continuing to progress their style. So the easiest thing I can do is just remember who I am, remember how that influences my style of pictures, my creativity, my way of interacting with people, my personality, and just be myself. And it's always when I am myself that I get to work with the most amazing clients, that people enjoy their experience with me the most. It's always when I try to copy somebody else or put on a front that things never go the way I'd like them to. I know that this has been going on for a long time, and I apologize for how long this is, but I recognize that there is a very widespread attitude of doubt and lack of self-esteem and confidence amongst everyone in our community. And I feel like it's the worst thing possible that can happen to anybody who makes a living as a creative person, because all of those negative emotions start to drain away your creativity. And when you don't have that creativity anymore, you're just a And when you don't have that creativity anymore, you're just a person pushing a button. So today I encourage you to step away from the computer, to put the camera down, go outside, meditate, practice some deep breathing techniques. Take your time to sit down or walk and just think about anything other than taking pictures, about being creative. And lastly, I'll wrap up with this. Nobody can tell you what you're supposed to do with your life, just like nobody can tell me. And nobody can tell you where you're supposed to go with it either, and how you're supposed to develop your life as a creative person. As much as you may be feeling all of those negative emotions, I feel them too. And sometimes I don't always get rid of them. But there is a way to actually push all of those things out. And that's just by getting away from everything, like I've said before, and just going out and enjoying what's right there in front of you. Remind yourself why you do this for a living. Remind yourself why you even want to be here. And just know that you're not alone. I want to apologize for getting emotional and taking so long to talk to you guys, but I feel like this is the best way for me to get my message out to as many people as possible. If you liked anything I had to say today, please hit that like button. If you want to see more videos as they roll out, make sure to hit that subscribe button. If you feel like this is a good, worthy message, share it with your friends. It doesn't always have to apply just to photographers, it can apply to anybody. If you have questions or comments, post them in the comments box below. I'd be happy to answer as many questions as you have for me, because what got me to this point was because of other people willing to help me. Thank you guys for watching. My name is Dustin Meyer, and keep moving forward.